Investigators have labeled 2 Southside fires as suspicious. Police make an arrest in connection with a series of frightening threats. And City Council looks at proposals to shake up its makeup.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thunder Bay Police have arrested a man who may be connected to one of 2 fires at Southside businesses last week. And officials with Thunder Bay Fire and Rescue are calling both fires suspicious. Crews were called to Frankie and Johnny's Auto Body on Vicker Street and Almanda Upholstery on May Street within hours of each other early Friday morning. No injuries were reported. However, both businesses suffered major fire damage. A fire marshal's investigator has been on the scene since then. Eric Nordland is the fire prevention captain with Thunder Bay Fire and Rescue and says there's still a lot of work to be done before the investigation comes to a close.
Both of those fires are being investigated by Thunder Bay Fire Rescue, the Office of the Fire Marshal and Thunder Bay Police. They both remain under investigation. I believe that the on-site investigation component is complete. And now they're reviewing information they got during that on-site investigation.
City Police spokesperson Chris Adams confirms that a 36-year-old man is under arrest for possession of a stolen vehicle that was taken from Frankie and Johnny's. However, until the fire marshal's investigation is complete, police can't say whether or not any additional charges might be laid against him.
Police, meantime, have arrested a 46-year-old man who they allege is responsible for writing over 60 threatening letters to individuals, organizations, businesses, city politicians, and media outlets in Thunder Bay. Eric Werkela is facing 21 charges of uttering threats, but that number could triple by the time that police finish their investigation. Police Chief J.P. Levesque says they've conducted an extensive probe over the past 16 months. They've been faced with lots of forensic evidence and have also used the OPP behavioral science team to come up with a geographic profile. Levesque calls the letters very disturbing in nature, and the threats are very serious. They include, amongst other things, physical violence, even death. And Levesque also admits he himself was the target of some of the letters.
As a public figure, you get a certain amount, there's a certain amount of notoriety, and you do get some negative letters, let's say. This individual certainly crossed the line, drawing in, and you know, I'm not, you know, we're not about to start naming individuals who are victims, but I can tell you I was named in the letters, and certainly when somebody starts naming my family members and these types of things, it goes well beyond anything we usually see as public figures.
None of the allegations have been proven in court. Levesque also commended the work done by his officers during the investigation. Werkela remains in custody. His next court appearance is tomorrow.
26-year-old Thunder Bay man remains in critical condition following an auto pedestrian accident at around 10 o'clock last night. Thunder Bay Police, Fire and EMS were called to the 200 block of Robertson Street. Traffic Sergeant Glenn Porter says the accident involved a black SUV. The pedestrian was rushed to the Thunder Bay Regional with very serious injuries.
Yes, this young man is in very serious condition, and hopefully we'll all say a little prayer for him. And the officers are continuing to work on that case.
Porter says the driver of the SUV remained at the scene and spoke to police about what he saw while officers examined the vehicle. Police have still not determined whether any charges will be laid. Any eyewitnesses who may have information pertaining to this case are asked to contact Thunder Bay Police.
More information is coming to light regarding 2 other major accidents this weekend. 4 people were injured at Sistonen's Corner on Saturday night. OPP say a transport truck coming off of Highway 102 was attempting to cross Highway 1117 when it was struck by another transport heading eastbound. The driver of the first rig, a 50-year-old Quebec man, has been charged with failing to yield. And charges are still pending following an accident on Oliver Road near Jack Pine Road on Saturday evening. Thunder Bay Police say a 54-year-old man driving an SUV was attempting to pass another vehicle driven by an 82-year-old, but instead he collided with the rear of the vehicle, sending it out of control before it landed on its side in a ditch. The SUV crashed into 2 trees before it also crashed into a ditch. 4 people were sent to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The worst injuries were to the driver of the SUV, who was not wearing a seatbelt. Police say charges will be laid once their investigation is completed.
A social media campaign has been launched by a Thunder Bay family after their loved one went missing last week. 29-year-old Travis Randy Hodgson hasn't been seen since October 30th, but city police say there's a lot more to the story. According to family members, Hodgson left his home on Amelia Street on Wednesday evening. He went for a walk, brought his wallet with him, but left his cell phone and car keys at home. There was no indication he wouldn't be returning. Now, 5 days later, there's still been no word from Hodgson, and his family is worried. Thunder Bay police say they don't know if Hodgson is actually missing, as they think he may be trying to evade police.
Thunder Bay Police have not issued that out to the media as a missing person, as there's a parallel criminal investigation ongoing. So we are trying to determine exactly what is all going on here.
Maybe he is running from something. Maybe he's having a tough time and we just don't know. And then maybe something's happened to him. And if he is out there and he's okay, like, I just want him to let us know so we're not sitting here thinking something's awful happened to him.
Police are urging Hodgson to contact his family and let them know he is safe. The family has created a Facebook page to assist in their search efforts. They say he could be headed towards southwestern Ontario, where he has family and friends.
Mayor Keith Hobbs feels there could be some changes at City Hall in coming years. Hobbs believes there should be a hard look at reducing the number of councillors in Thunder Bay. The idea comes as a proposal to do away with the ward system comes up at tonight's City Council meeting. Councillor Ken Boschkoff feels the time is right for the city to elect only at-large candidates. He'd like the public to vote on that issue at the ballot box next year. But 6 of the 7 ward councillors we've heard from don't think any change is needed. The exception is McIntyre ward councillor Trevor Gertuga, who plans to bring forward the idea of reducing the number of elected officials to 7 ward councillors, 1 deputy mayor and a mayor. Mayor Hobbs feels that idea has some merit.
If you look at Vancouver, they have 10 councillors. We have 12. So, I kind of like the idea in a way. I just want to study it a bit more, look at maybe reducing the number of councillors. Eventually, I would like to see full-time city councillors, and what number that would be, haven't determined yet.
According to Hobbs, those full-time, dedicated councillors are needed because there are so many issues the city is trying to tackle.
The new smoking bylaw at the Thunder Bay Regional Hospital has had an unintended consequence. Cigarette butts are piling up near city sidewalks and other areas where people have been forced to move to in order to smoke. City officials admit they never really thought about the increased amount of cigarette butts as a result of the bylaw. Romeo Rancourt isn't in favor of the bylaw, but doesn't want to be hit with a fine. He thinks a butt stop or some kind of receptacle should be in the areas people have to go to.
They should have a place where you can put your butts, cigarette butts, for sure. It's, if you look around, it's not the healthiest thing.
General Manager of Operations Daryl Matson says if an area becomes littered with cigarette butts, the city will look at cost-sharing arrangement for butt stops.
There is an influx or an abundance of cigarette butts in a confined area, then we will have discussions with BIAs or the hospital or retailers to help facilitate the cleanliness of the area.
The new bylaw at the regional hospital went into effect on October 1st.
The Thunder Bay Port Authority had a better month in October, but they're still not seeing the numbers they enjoyed last year, especially when it comes to wheat. The harvest was later than normal this year, but it's the biggest crop in Canadian history. Still, the local port has yet to see the benefits from it. Last month, over 500,000 metric tons of wheat came through our port, but that's over 140,000 tons less than October of last year. Port Authority CEO Tim Heaney says it's an increase over the past few months, but they're still not where they want to be. With this year's massive crop, Heaney says it could take until next year's harvest to move all of the wheat to market. But right now, it's a shortage of rail cars, amongst other issues, that's causing the slowdown.
The entire system was quite reliant on the wheat board for a lot of different factors in transportation. So adjusting to that probably takes a little longer in the Seaway than it does on the West Coast. So that was probably another factor. I think there's also European grain being shipped off the West Coast. Right now there's some very reasonably priced Panamax ships. Everybody's trying to take advantage of that through the Panama Canal.
Heaney says the port isn't suffering financially in any way. A couple of project ships carrying mining equipment are expected to make port over the next few weeks, and Heaney's hopeful the numbers will continue to go up over the next couple of months and even into next spring.
The forest fire season is now officially over for another year, and the statistics show it was a much slower year than average. According to the Ministry of Natural Resources, there were 357 fires in the Northwest region, burning about 44,000 hectares of forest. That's about half as much as last year when there were 664 fires burning, about 98,000 hectares. Fire Information Officer Heather Pridham says weather was the biggest reason for the lower numbers. There were no long stretches of hot, dry weather, and as a result, there was not a single forced evacuation, no restricted fire zones, and no emergency management orders in the entire Northwest this year. The lower numbers were seen in the rest of the province as well. The 576 total fires was about half of the 10-year average. The lack of activity helped the provincial coffers as well, as the MNR spent $112 million fighting forest fires compared to $172 million last year.
Local residents were discussing how they can create a healthy home environment today. It came at a presentation hosted by the Thunder Bay District Health Unit on how to protect the family home from harmful chemicals. Organizers say there are 5 main tips that will help to keep your home healthy. Those include eating low-mercury fish, going green when you clean, reducing exposure to chemicals in plastic, renovating right, and busting the dust. These low-cost actions can help protect children and adults from toxic substances that are commonly found in the home. That presentation was given to the Thunder Bay Women's Institute, who were at today's presentation.
A lot of them are grandparents or babysitting. A lot of them are babysitting in their older years. So they have them in their homes. So yes, all these tips are relevant.
Well, studies have found that exposures to these various chemicals can have lasting impacts on children's bodies as they're developing, particularly on their hormonal systems. So really there's a lot of small steps that parents can take that will go a long way in promoting and enhancing their children's health as they develop.
Officials from the health unit say simple cleaning liquids such as soap, vinegar, and water work best to clean the home.
Whether you're married, a bride-to-be, or still looking for that special someone, the Wedding Wishes Formal Fair was the place to be yesterday. The popular event provides a crash course in everything a bride and groom needs for their big day. Mike Albanese has the story.
The 25th annual Wedding Wishes Formal Fair made a splash in Thunder Bay as usual. The event grows every year, and this year was packed to the brim with budding brides and grooms. Event manager Nancy Milani spoke about how it isn't just the soon-to-be partners that benefit from the event.
You know, you can talk to various exhibitors here that have been here for the first time, and they just can't imagine the people. The exposure they get is absolutely tremendous, not only to brides and grooms that are here, but to the mothers, the mother-in-laws, family members, friends. So it's just an incredible amount of exposure for them to get their name out there and showcase what they do.
The event has doubled in size since it started, moving from 50 booths to 105. On average, it brings in 325 brides and grooms and 1,200 people in total over the 5 hours it runs. Not only do the waves of people that come in get a fashion show, they also get a chance at a great prize.
There's an $11,000 package that one lucky bride and groom are going to win, and it's virtually a complete wedding package with bridal gown and videography and photography, flowers, you name it, it's in there.
We caught up with a guest who is about to be married herself. Lindsay Wilson still has a year to go before her big day, but that doesn't mean you can't start preparing in advance. We asked how helpful events like this are for a future bride.
Oh, very. Just even like knowing the type of deals that people give and things that are offered, like I wouldn't have even known about before, so it was really helpful to come to these before.
So the event helps brides and grooms and it gets companies exposure, but what does it do for Thunder Bay? Leah Nadine, a sales consultant at Irma's Bridal Boutique, spoke on the benefits this event brings to Thunder Bay every year.
The benefits of this event are great. It's keeping people local, keeping them in Thunder Bay, keeping our economy going, with keeping our businesses alive rather than going out of town all the time to buy stuff.
The event will take place again next year on November 3rd and has a $6 entry fee. Mike Albanese, TBT News.